People sometimes think I sound American. Do I sound American to you, or do I sound Irish?
You got like a little bit of different, like some words you say kind of do sound American.
Amber Mitchell never expected much from the Match Me Abroad algorithm. After nearly 5 years of swiping through dead-end matches in Austin, followers of pseudo-spiritual influencers, chain-smoking bros, and part-time DJs, she'd swiped right in frustration on a last suggestion, Mr. Ireland. His profile was polite, curious, international. Cian O'Sullivan, 28, Dublin. He worked in heritage conservation. He loved old bookstores and long interviews over coffee. His pictures showed him smiling mid-story on a cobbled street, reading Yeats in a cafe, rowing on Loch O'Hearn. She tapped yes. He swiped back. They started texting. Their first week was electric. Video calls with cross-continental time zones, jokes about accents, gentle teasing about Irish weather, too wet, American football, too confusing. But both shared soreness after year-long Zoom fatigue. They craved an in-person connection. Match Me Abroad offered a 1-week international trip setup. Cian flew to Texas. She flew to Ireland for Irish Week. They chose Ireland, equal distance awkwardness but more vacation vibe. Amber landed in Dublin on a windy Thursday morning. She exited customs clutching her bag as the air felt different, bracing, fresh, full of possibility. She had 1 hour before meeting Cian in the city square. She sent a selfie, messy hair, excited grin. His reply, Dublin's finest weather, and you're glowing like the Book of Kells. They met at Trinity College Gate, stone columns arching overhead. She spotted him first, tall, auburn hair pushed back, green scarf knotted casually, a camera dangling on his neck. His hi sounded lyrical. She felt her nerves soften. First stop, the winding bookshop cafe, a hidden cafe behind walls of old books. The cafe smelled like chai, wood polish, papery secrets. They shared a pot of Irish Earl Grey and a slice of apple cake, rumored to be baked with honey from sheep farms nearby, really. They crouched close, talking about heritage, his work restoring 18th-century cottages, her job with non-profit educational tech. He showed her photos of his granite stonework, the grooves of time in the walls. She shared her research on virtual classrooms. When he laughed, she heard soft consonants curl, a phonetic comfort she couldn't replicate. Later, he rented a small hatchback. Winds whipped across the Wicklow Gap. Heather and green hills slipped past. He guided her to Glendalough, a monastic village lost in lakes and quiet. They walked hand in hand down ancient stone paths. Mist drifted. She tripped on a moss-covered slab near the upper lake. He steadied her. She laughed. He teased gently, "That's your first Irish slip." They sat by the water. She recited a Yeats poem, awkward but heartfelt. He answered with a verse from Patrick Kavanagh he loved as a kid. They leaned in, silent for a moment, the world echoing moss and water. At night, they joined locals at a traditional pub in Larrock. The low wooden rafters, peat fire scent, and low hum of conversation made it feel timeless. 2 local fiddlers arrived, and before she knew it, Cian had grabbed her hand and invited her to minuet-sized dance. They moved clumsily. She shuffled her toes. He swooped her. She laughed. The locals clapped. Afterward, Cian pulled her closer. "I could never have guessed an algorithm would lead me here," he looked into her eyes. "But I've felt more alive since I met you." Amber's throat caught. She whispered, "So did I." The next day, a storm hit. Heavy rain from the Atlantic, waves pounding cliffs of Maher. They sat in a coastal cafe, sipping hot cocoa. The wind hammered the windows, but inside they shared jackets and silence. She wrote 2 lines of a poem about him in her journal. He scribbled a sketch of her staring out to sea. Moments like this, unpracticed, unscripted, were rare joys. Later that evening in her room, Amber stared at her reflection. Was she falling too fast? Would long-distance work? They came from different worlds, Austin's desert sun versus Ireland's damp grey, her tech-fast pace versus his slower conservation work. Was she chasing romance across oceans? She texted her best friend at home, "Am I an idiot? A fool's rush traveler." Her friend answered, "If it feels right, let yourself feel it." Cian invited her to show her Dun Laogaire Harbour at dawn. They rode early buses to catch sunrise. Amber shivered. Grey sea rolled endless. He carefully opened a small leather-bound book, a new anthology of Irish poetry. He'd wrapped it in wax paper, waterproof, for safety. "I thought you'd like something to remember it by." Pages fluttered. Poems by Heaney, Boland, Kinsella, and one he wrote for her, a few lines, trembling just like his heart. She pressed her hand over his. He brushed the wax paper off the cover. It glowed like treasure. Last night in Dublin, they dressed up and dined at Chapter 1, al fresco under a heated canopy. Soft jazz. Candles. She wore a green silk dress he'd complimented on the second date. He wore a crisp shirt and scarf. They sipped wine and shared stories deeper, his childhood exploring coastal ruins, her solitary travels in Thailand. They laughed at cultural stereotypes, at their overpacked suitcases, at airport wrestling. When dessert came, under Dublin's starless sky, he leaned forward. "Amber Mitchell, would you give me your first Irish kiss?" She met him halfway. It was soft, curious, lingering. A promise. The city hummed around them. She woke the next morning to wind outside. Her flight back in hours. Cian brewed tea in his kitchen. "Let's not say goodbye yet," he said softly. They packed. At the airport shuttle, he pressed the wax-wrapped book into her hand again, smiled gently, and lifted her hand to his lips. "Keep me in your words, Miss Mitchell." She boarded the plane with a heart that ached with absence, yet felt expansive with possibility.